This is a presentation of the Metadata Interoperability Platform, developed by the MINT Group of the National Technical University of Athens. This is our submission for DPLA-Beta Sprint. MINT is a web-based, open-source platform enabling the aggregation of rich and divergent cultural heritage metadata. It has been developed in the framework of European projects with the aim of aggregating material to Europeana. It has been deployed in projects dealing with cultural material from libraries archives, museum galleries, and television archives. Let's see now what I can do with the MINT platform. After logging in, I'm directed to the home page where I can see basic information about the platform. I can browse and use the services of the platform using the tabs on the top. But what should I do to ingest my metadata? I need to follow a 5-step workflow. The first step is to import the metadata. The second is to define the item root. The third is to create the mappings. The fourth step is to validate and transform. And finally, I preview and publish the metadata. I will now show you how to import metadata. First, click on the Import tab. There are several ways to import metadata, including HTTP upload, FTP upload, and OAI PMH. Take into account that the import service supports CSV, TXT, zip, and XML file formats. Finally, if my metadata follows a known standard, I select it from the drop-down list. To proceed to the next step, I will upload a file using the NTUA FTP method. It's a zip file that contains many XML files that do not follow a known metadata standard. Then I press Submit. The next step is to define the item root. This process is required since the imported metadata have an unknown structure and may contain, in one file, one or more items. For this reason, I need to define the root element of my item structure. To access this service, I click the Overview tab. I can see that my file has been successfully imported. By clicking on the import name, I can see the available services. To define the root, I click on the first service. On the left part, I can browse and see the hierarchy of my metadata. I know that the item root is this element. Everything above this element is repeated for all items. To set it, I drag and drop the element in the item level area. Optionally, I can set an element as the item label to facilitate the item preview. Finally, I click Done. I can see now that there are 210 distinct items included in the uploaded zip file. Having defined the item root, I'm ready to create the mappings between my schema and the target schema. At this step, users are asked to provide the semantics of the imported metadata by mapping the input schema to a target schema. Depending on the imported cultural content, I can select the appropriate reference model. We are currently supporting DC, DC Terms, Mods, Mark 21, Lido, EDM, Carrare, EBU Core. However, any model that has an XSD serialization can be added as a reference model in the mapping tool. The mapping service of the platform supports the following functionality: Visual XSL editor for metadata mapping, customized browsing of the target XSD schema, string manipulation functions for input elements, one-to-n mappings, M2-1 mappings with the option between concatenation and element repetition, structural element mappings, constant or controlled value assignment, conditional mappings, value mappings editor. On the platform, I click the mapping icon to access the mapping service. I select the reference model and add a name for my mapping. I can edit at any time my mappings, or I can use them as a template. In the mapping interface, on the left part, I can see the metadata schema. In the right part, I can see the top elements of the target schema. By clicking them, I can navigate their sub-elements in the middle part of the screen. Simple mappings are performed by drag and drop operations. Having created a mapping, additional options appear that can be used to perform advanced mappings. More details for the mapping services can be found in the Mint Wiki. This way, I map all the input elements that can find correspondence to the target schema. It is recommended to check the result of the mappings in the preview interface, where I can see the input XML, the produced XSLT, the output XML, and the validation report. When I'm done with the mappings, I click Finish and the mappings are saved. The next step is to validate and transform the metadata in the target schema. What I need to do is to click on the transformation icon on the Overview tab. In the appearing panel, I choose the mapping that corresponds to my input data and press Done. The validation process will report on errors that may occur during the transformation process. If I have imported metadata that follows an available schema, the second and third steps are omitted and I go directly to the transformation and validation step. The final step is to preview and publish my transformed metadata. On the item view, I can preview all my imported and transformed items. Finally, I proceed with publishing my transformed items. Available options include publishing to an OAI PMH repository or transferring to another portal service. This concludes the presentation of the Mint platform. For further information and additional functionality, please visit in the Mint Wiki.